they say? How did a word that is itself derived from Hindu and twa really essentially means essence, come to be so resented by a section of the intellectual class in this country? Let's ask this of some of the finest authorities on the roots of our Hindu dharmic civilization. I have the honor of speaking to each one of them, and we have the privilege of listening to their point of view. Dr. Ram Madhav, let me begin with you first. There's a lot of misinformation about the word Hindutva to begin with. It is attributed to Mr. Savarkar, but it was coined, as it turns out, by a great son of Bengal, Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, in his treatise Anand Mat. The same work that gave us Vande Mataram. Chattopadhyay himself was a product of the Renaissance, the Bengal Renaissance. First, tell us what the word Hindutva means in its unadulterated apolitical sense as defined by people like Chattopadhyay.
No, firstly, let me make a humble correction. It's no longer a lot of misunderstanding. It's a little bit of misunderstanding continues. Large sections of our society, Indian society today, understand the real meaning and essence of this word Hindutva. There are professional critiques of it. We earlier used to think that probably people are unable to understand. That's why they are probably talking against it. But over the years, we now realize that it is professional to be anti-Hindutva. So you have to be a professionally anti-Hindutva person, so you have to invent certain arguments. Now, Hindutva is different, Hinduism is different, Hinduism is very liberal, logical, Hindutva is very fundamentalist, etc., etc. Hindutva is Hinduism in practice. In practice, always updating itself, making that very ancient philosophy of our Hindu dharma contemporarily relevant is what is Hindutva, nothing else. All other interpretations, negative interpretations about it are only professional, critical analysis. It's only a job to remain critical. No, not because they don't understand it, but being critical also has a market. That's all.
So, Pavan Verma, you've written on the Hindu civilization, a brilliant book. Are you just a professional litigant against the word Hindutva, or do you believe that perhaps it has come to acquire, in the hands of some, a more insidious edge? And if you do believe so, can you justify why Dr. Ram Madhav might be wrong here?
I have nothing against the word Hindutva. To me, Hindutva, as you define Tva, if it is seen as the essence of Hinduism, I have probably written half a dozen books on Hinduism. I'm a great admirer of the profundity of its philosophical wisdom and an admirer also of its continuity, if I may say, for 5,000 years. And I do believe that somewhere along the line, some of its great wisdoms have been lost, need to be reclaimed. Parts of Hindu civilization which are an aspect of Hindutva need to be reappropriated, brought into the mainstream. And therefore, in principle, I am not against the word Hindutva. However, since I believe in the grandeur of Hinduism, I object often, not because I'm a professional critic, as Ram Madhav ji saw. I object to Hinduism's grandeur, whether it's called Hindutva or anything else, to the lowest common denominator, by which I mean that for political purposes, if the very spirit and essence of Hinduism's ultimate glory is simplified deliberately to the point where it becomes a set of shibboleths: what to eat, what to wear, how to dress, how many times to go to the temple, who to worship, in what form, and particularly for women, for them to conform to the notion of some thekedars of Hinduism, to the concept of chaste Hindu Nari. Hinduism cannot be reduced to that, because when you do it, you distort it. Yes, you need to be aggressive about aspects of Hinduism. You need to be vigilant about possible threats to it. But in doing so, you cannot distort such a great legacy. And I therefore feel that when you use Hindutva purely as a political tool, it often ends up not as the Hinduism which we worship or which we are proud to belong to, but as a means of dividing society, spreading avoidable hate, creating fissures, and also empowering an entire class of new, he will not like this word, so I'll not use it. We've had debates before. A new class of people who cannot write one page on Hinduism but are today the protectors of Hinduism and have become a law unto themselves.
No, are you saying that they extend into the ruling establishment and that
No,
they
no,
are part and
in
parcel
fact, that's
of...
a very interesting question. And then Mr. Madhav, I'm sure, will answer it. You see, the ruling party, in my view, and has played a role of deliberate ambiguity with organizations like the Bajrang Dal. I'm naming one. They encourage them to achieve short-term political goals in their aggression. If they go too far, they have the option to distance themselves from it. We were just having a discussion about this. And in this process, over 10 years of political power at the center, we have people today who, in the name of Hindutva, are distorting the very meaning, grandeur, and conquering eclecticism of Hinduism. That, I feel, is wrong. But otherwise, I have no problem with Hindutva.
So you're saying there is a basis to adduce this sort of definition that Hindutva has been sort of twisted.
No, as I said, look, if there is anything wrong happening in Hinduism, there is always scope and place for questioning and criticism. That is the very fundamental, quality of Hinduism that Mr. Pavan Verma knows very well. Questioning. Gandhiji said, continuous reform is the name of Sanatana Dharma. Hindu Dharma is the name in which continuous reform should happen. To that extent, it is fine. Does Hinduism not have asuras in it? Was Ravan not a great Hindu in that sense? But he was still an asura. He was to be opposed. He was to be killed. Such things, whether they happen in any form, in any name, in any organization, they have to be opposed. But to brand a particular group as you are Hindutva, since you are Hindutva, you are bad, is what is wrong. That is what I am saying. If there is something not correct happening in any particular group, in a so-called non-Hindutva group, championing caste and dividing society in the name of caste, asking people, tell me how many judges are there from your caste, tell me how many so-and-so are there in your caste. It is all progressive in our country. Nobody questions that politics. While in Hindutva, when we are talking about this great country's ancient civilizational value system, we have to uphold it, we have to live with that self-respect, self-identity. It's actually branded as though it's a very bad idea. Bad people can be there anywhere. That's what I'm saying. When there was no Hindutva also, there were bad people among every religion, every dharmic society. Don't brand a group just because then you call it a political form. It's not politics. It's about this country. If it is politics, Mahatma Gandhi was the first person to use it for political reasons. He called, I am a very proud Sanatani Hindu. It's not politics. It's about certain value system which we believe it's the core value system of our country.
Okay, you want to quickly come
Just
in before
quickly
I bring in
rebuts,
Mr. Gautier?
With apologies to Francois. You know, Ram Madhav ji raised a very important point. Hinduism has the ability, the confidence, the sanction to critique itself and correct itself. My worry today is we are fast coming to a point where even a proud Hindu like myself, if he or she questions any aspect of what the establishment so-called of Hindutva believes, we are anti-Hindu. Now this is a very strange thing because Hinduism, if you know, has no one God, no one book, no one church. It is an eclectic faith which has not one but 6 systems of Hindu philosophy.
But shouldn't we speak with concrete examples?
I'm just going to finish. I'm just going to finish quickly. Yeah. And it has allowed for a great deal of contrary opinions and critique. That is its strength, Rahul. I want to just quickly take 10
but you're
seconds.
Sitting here and you're critiquing,
yes.
And there's so much space for that.
I don't know what the consequences will be. But that apart, the point I'm making is that you have the Charvaks. They said Vedas are a bunch of lies. I challenge anyone to even attempt to say that today and not face the consequences of being anti-Hindu.
Let me bring in Francois Gautier on this. There was another person called Veer Savarkar who challenged even the casteism that had got associated with the Hindu way. Even Gauraksha, in fact.
I would like to come back to the original topic of this conference, which is Hinduness.
Yes.
So, of course, I'm a foreigner, I'm Catholic born, Catholic educated. So I'm going to read a few lines if you allow me.
Yes.
What is it to be a true Hindu? A Hindu is one who searches for the ultimate truth. As a lover of this country, as someone who has tried to follow that Hinduness, I think the first quality of a Hindu is that he or she strives for inner quest, using the tools that are available in this wonderful country that is called Bharat or India, pranayama, meditation, hatha yoga. So a Hindu is one who searches for truth. That's the first quality. The second quality, unlike other religions, Hinduism refuses to sanction the monopoly of one God, of one scripture, and the only way to salvation. Now, as a Catholic, when I came to India, I had the same prejudices that most Westerners have, and unfortunately still have today. All religions are the same. God is many. But what I saw in India is that when I started reporting as a young reporter, is that the ordinary Hindu in the countryside. I started in Kerala doing a feature on Kalaripayat, which is a very ancient martial art which went to China and Japan. And I found that these people, were many of them not educated. They had this knowledge in their genes, that God is many, that, there is not one way to God. And then I also saw when I was covering Kashmir that there was another religion who thought that if you don't belong to my religion, I might kill you, I might convert you, the Christian might convert you, and the Muslim might kill you. So it opened my eyes to what true Hinduism is. Then Hinduism is the eternal faith, Sanatana Dharma, as my friend rightly said. We will not speak too much. Hindus believe that the soul takes birth in the physical body, dies, gets reborn, till it attains perfect divinity. Now, in Christianity, not many people know that, but till the 7th, 8th century, Christians accepted reincarnation. The belief in reincarnation is so important because if I am a Christian, I live, then I die according to my good will, good sins or bad sins. I go to paradise or I go to purgatory or I go to hell. Now, in this country, India, Bharat, there is no knowledge that you're born again, and this opened my eyes. I came as a very young person and it opened my eyes. This is also is true Hinduness, to believe that you're born again, and and there is something in you which is immortal. So that again is true Hinduness. Hindu believes that one can cleanse oneself from karma through yoga practices such as pranayama. I said that in the beginning. You know, the Hatha Yoga has taken the world by storm. You know, in America, out of 3 persons, 2 practice Hatha Yoga. We see Hollywood stars, you know, doing Sirsasana, you know, doing Surya Namaskar. So this knowledge which is in this country, and I think this is why Mr. Modi came and he played such a crucial role in the rising of Bharat, is that India needs to become the spiritual leader of the world. Many of your sages have said that, Swami Vivekananda, you know, Sri Aurobindo. I actually came to India to meet Sri Aurobindo's companion called the Mother in Pondicherry, and I had the privilege to meet her several times. You know, Sri Aurobindo was an immense yogi, immense avatar, and also a revolutionary. That India needs to become spiritual leader of the world, and I think Mr. Modi is playing a very, very important role in that. Now, one can be a Christian, a Muslim, or a Jew, and still practice Hinduism. I think this is one thing that very few Hindus understand, is that Hinduism is not a religion, it's a spirituality. You know? And it's a universal spirituality because it recognizes that God, he or she, not only he or she can manifest at different times, using different names, different scriptures. So this is a wonderful knowledge. And that knowledge used to be, you know, roaming all over the world, in Egypt, in Greece, Mesopotamia, right. So many countries that this knowledge, but it was wiped out. So today, the responsibility that your country holds is that it still has this knowledge, which is being attacked from many sides, including, as you know, the earlier Mr. Babane said, you know, by Hindus themselves. You know. So for me to come to this country, to live in this country, is a great privilege, because I learned things that I couldn't learn in my country. Though, you know, definitely France has many qualities, you know, and there are things that India can learn.
So what you're saying, Francois Gautier, is that, and I think in one sense you're saying what Savarkar once said, that Hindus need to fear actually Hindus the most. That's what he had said. So, yes.
Well, can I say one phrase about that? You know, that I agree with Mr. Professor Bamades, but also there's Western Indologists. There is a hatred of Hindus among Western Indologists. In my country, there's a man called Christophe Jaffrelot. He's made his lifelong task of demonizing Hindus, the BJP, the RSS, Mr. Modi.
They are the professionals, I said.
That's the professional. Okay, so let me just ask you this, Pavan Verma, because I think we're pivoting towards an interesting territory. Now, you claim that a particular type of political Hindutva philosophy is dividing people and this, that, the other, and it takes sometimes legal expression like the CAA, etc., etc. Now, this is interesting because it's in stark contrast to the political experience of the BJP that is constantly adding new and new and new sociological verticals. It's the only party that's actually growing. How can their worldview be so exclusive, yet it is attracting more and more people? So obviously, what is said about it, and I'm not sounding like any apologist, I'm just saying, just look at the numbers. How can you say that they are championing something so exclusivist?
Rahul, I don't think we should compare apples and oranges. Today's subject is the Twa factor in Hindutva. Why a political party is on the upswing and has won 2 decisive majorities in parliament is a very complex subject. First of all, it's the personality of Mr. Modi. Second, it is a narrative. Third, it is many of its achievements like welfareism. Fourth, it's an organization and cadre which permeates down to the grassroots. And fifth, there is also the Hindutva factor and hyper-nationalism, or what I often call proving yourself to be patriotic, otherwise you are not. Maybe there are factors like this. We are talking of Hinduism, and here I agree with what Francois says, that for anyone from an Abrahamic faith.
No, I'm specifically addressing the point that you raised, because I was hearing Mr. Chidambaram speak a few days ago, where a question was put to him, why is it that the BJP is growing? Why is it that Modi is becoming more and more popular? And he said, well, there are a variety of reasons, just like you were. But the main reason is that this man has fed the poison of Hindutva. he didn't discriminate between what Hindutva was in his mind. He said it was the poison of Hindutva, which even the Supreme Court identifies with Hinduism, let me tell you. The J.S. Verma judgment, if you go back to it. So he says it is Hindutva. Now, if Hindutva was so divisive, so poisonous, why are the unsuspecting voters drinking it?
No, so to answer your question, I have been the spokesman of the Ministry of External Affairs of a political party, the JDU.
Yes.
But I'm not Mr. Chidambaram's spokesman. So I just want to clarify that. He can say what he believes. To my mind, Mr. Modi is a popular leader, and it is also a factor of the opposition being spectacularly ineffective without a face or a narrative.
Okay.
So that these are factors that are different. They are in the secular realm as well. Where Hindutva is concerned, for anyone from an Abrahamic faith, the freedoms and the openness of Hinduism is a matter, can be a matter of great attraction and also be a matter of great miscomprehension. Now, when there is a religion, which Francois talked about, where the greatest reviver of Hinduism, Adi Shankaracharya, he says, na dharmo, na chartho, na kamo, na moksha, na mantro, na tirtham, na vedo, na yagna. None of these matter. All that matters is Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. And by the way, he said, I am Shiva, I am Shiva. Another thinker in the Middle East, a Sufi thinker, he said, Anul Haq, I am the truth. He was beheaded. In Hinduism, it's not. So we need to preserve this grandeur of
No, where is any dispute about it? Who is not preserving it in India? Is Hindutva not preserving it? You talked about Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara's one of the finest memorials is coming up in Madhya Pradesh, funded by the BJP government. Isn't it a great tribute to Adi Shankara and all that philosophy of Advaita of Adi Shankara? And this is that Hindutva which has freed millions and millions of Indian women from the smoke puffing chulas, provided them gas cylinders without asking them about their religion, sir. Did we ask them whether you are a Hindu or not? Did we not give it to all religions? Is it not the same Hindutva which is freeing millions and millions of Muslim women from triple talaq? The curse of triple talaq? Is it not a great service that this so-called Hindutva leadership doing to the Muslim women of this country? Fortunately in our country, that's why I said, all those sections of people understand that what is projected as a big demon, and then suddenly today we pretend to be victims. This victimhood argument, what will happen to me? Sir, you have been espousing your cause for many years. Nothing happened to you. People are listening to you. You are respected. Why this victimhood syndrome? Did it ever occur to you that years after years, decades after decades, you kept calling us communal, you kept calling us fascist? Did we then cry from rooftops that what will happen to me if I say I'm a nationalist? These are, tables are turning. People will call you things that you have been doing in all these years before. Today, somebody else will stand up and say, no, you are anti-Hindu if you say this. Take it in your stride. Full freedom in this country for criticism. That's why it's that spirit we never reject. In Hinduism, in Hindutva, not Hinduism. There is always space, scope for Mr. Pavan Verma, Mr. Christopher Jeffrellet also. One may be a very professional critic. One is a logical critic. Everybody has a place. But I am repeating, as far as this so-called Hindutva politics is concerned, it is totally non-discriminatory in the true spirit of Hinduism or Hindutva. It is for the welfare and well-being of everybody, 1.4 billion Indians. That is what you witness in this country. That is the reason why people today support Prime Minister and his government.
Very quickly. Very quickly.
No.
The only person we have heard just the other day, and nothing, fortunately, and that just speaks for the Hindu way, has happened to him as yet. Person who gets up and says, in Hinduism, there is this thing called Shakti, and we are fighting this Shakti. Now imagine someone saying that about any other faith and about a negative aspect of that faith, what would have happened to that individual by now, 48 hours and counting.
I think a lot has happened to him by now.
No, that's because of his political...
No, nothing will happen because I tell you, nothing will happen. The reason I tell you.
At least in terms of ridicule, because without understanding what in Hinduism is the role of Shakti, to use Shakti in the context of Hinduism, in the manner in which he did, obviously.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So is that a professional
critic?
critic?
These are not the substantive critiques that we need as Hindus to be open about. And what I am saying is, let's talk of Veer Savarkar.
No, we've run out of time, actually. I'm really sorry.
But I must say, nothing will happen to Rahul Gandhi, sir. Don't worry. Because we always believed that BJP has strong leadership which will get us a lot of votes. Modi ji, Amit Shah and Rahul Gandhi.
Well, I did tell you, yes. 30 seconds.
I mean, I don't believe there is a divide between being Hindu and Hindutva. In fact, I believe that Hindu power is a must in India, and that sometimes I feel Mr. Modi is very moderate. Of course, as Ram said, he's the Prime Minister of all Indians. But understanding that Hindu accept the totality of the world, I wish that Hindu power would come more to the fore.
Well,
10 seconds. I can understand his point of view, but Hinduism's foundational basis is respect for all faiths. And I think that cannot be diluted.
I think most people here will say is perhaps happening given the fact that a large number of people are not differentiated on the basis of their faith by government policies. I think that's the real test. The government comes in and it respects everyone, exactly, respects and enables everyone when they form policies. I can tell you a previous government, non-BJP governments who had policies that actually differentiated between people. I still haven't found one who can accuse this government, and I'm just being absolutely factual here. Any one of you thinks that there's one government policy that differentiates between people? One government policy, Indian citizens? Raise your hands. Well, we leave it at that. The proof of the pudding is in its eating. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rahul. That indeed was a thought-provoking discussion. And, you know, one thing is very clear, ladies and gentlemen. When you speak about Hinduism, this is exactly what we saw on stage. You have place to debate, to critique, and make better. Yes, Hinduism can absorb different views and become better over time. And fortunately, unfortunately, we're going to see a very sharp debate over Hinduism in the coming general election. Yes, this is going to be a hot, long and sweaty election, and there will be some high-pitched politics over Hinduism. And this is exactly what the Prime Minister has been trying to avoid. Take away politics, take away the debate from religion and caste and focus it on the economy. Yes, he has been saying that we need to focus on the poor, the women, the youth and the farmers. And these are the forecasts in the country we need to focus on. And as we talk about the economy, ladies and gentlemen, let's indulge in some investment talk, shall we? Private equity, venture funding, and the investment universe are having their moments, albeit with a bit of rough and tumble lately. This involves moving funds across asset classes and various geographies. What are the changes taking place in the investment landscape and the evolving technologies in the world of finance, private capital and money? Let's welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Ashish Agarwal, Managing Director and Country Head at Jefferies, Ramesh Damani, veteran investor and member of Bombay Stock Exchange, Shweta Jalan, Managing Partner and Head of Advent International in India, Harsha Raghavan, Managing Partner, Convergent Finance LLP, to talk about turbocharged markets, micro moves, macro moves, in conversation with CNBC TV 18's Managing Editor, Shireen Bhan. Let's welcome them on stage, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a fascinating discussion. There will be a debate on the economy as we get off the national election, and who better to discuss this? Shireen, over to you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What an absolute pleasure it is to be back here at Rising Bharat. Thank you so much for being an incredible audience here, and we look forward to engaging with you on an issue that is occupying a lot of mind space and clearly generating a lot of headlines. I have a fabulous panel here with me this afternoon to talk about the trajectory that we are likely to see. It has been a record-breaking year for the Indian capital markets. To start with, we've seen the democratization of the Indian capital markets. The number of demat accounts in just the past 1 year up 34%. We've seen India emerge as one of the best performing markets in the world. We've seen record numbers in terms of mutual funds, asset under management. Women are now participating in the Indian capital markets like never before. But to tell us what the road ahead looks like, what we can expect for India, for the Indian economy, and for the Indian markets, without further ado, I'm going to start the first round with 90 seconds each to my panelists here to give us their take on what they believe is the bull case for India. Ramesh Damani, veteran investor, you've of course been bullish on the Indian markets for very, very long. And Ramesh, I just want to, for the benefit of our audience here who are watching us online as well as here at the Taj Palace in Delhi, remind you of that event in 2014 where your good friend, the late Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, said, if you're underinvested in India, you're going to miss out on the mother of all bull markets. Ramesh Damani, 90 seconds, your time starts now on the bull case for India.
Yeah, thank you, Shireen. It's very interesting that I just came back from the land of the rising sun. So I'm coming back to the rising Bharat right now. And the very instructive story to understand about what's happened in Japan. In 1964, when India last won the Olympic gold medal cleanly, with the fair competition, was in Tokyo, the Nikkei was at 1,000. Over the next 25 years, it climbed from 1,000 to 40,000 in yen terms. Even dollar terms, it actually went to 100,000. So it had the mother of all bull runs in Japan. And I think Rakesh and me, we're kind of stock market creatures. We believe that India is on a similar bull run. Like Japan went from a third world country to the second largest economy in the world. Companies that were unknown in Japan in 64, Sony, Hitachi, Honda, became household names. I think, and maybe I hope I'm right, that India is on a similar trajectory. And what is powering this bull market in India? Every bull market has a thesis. What powers the bull market? I think what is powering this bull market is the growth of the great Indian middle class. I think finally we're having a great Indian middle class. People have a bit of extra money to save, extra money to invest. So you're seeing that coming through in the demat accounts, seeing through in the domestic money inflows. So I think this is a long-term story. I don't